Holy smokes! Something quiet in Cleveland just exploded into a full-blown headline-eating power play, and if you blinked, you already missed one of the most dangerous gambles the Browns have taken this year. A staff promotion that looked routine on paper turned into a collision between loyalty and survival, and the prize at the center of it all is a rookie kid named Shedeur Sanders, who, depending on how this plays out, could either save a season or become the excuse everybody points to when it all falls apart. But before we get to the moment everybody's whispering about, let's set the stage. The Browns promoted Tommy Rees to offensive coordinator this year, a move that suddenly put a new brain in charge of how this offense runs. And Kevin Stefanski, the long-standing head coach who built this staff, still holds the top job and the public face of stability for the franchise. Those two facts are not small. They're the fault lines. Here's the thing about an offensive coordinator suddenly being the one calling plays. It's not a cosmetic change. It's a transfer of power that affects roster usage, game rhythm, and, most importantly, who gets the ball when it matters. Coaches can spin narratives about focusing on 3 phases and big-picture management, but when play calling moves hands, everything inside the building shifts. Players start moving differently in meetings. Coaches start pushing their preferences. And if one coach believes a quarterback is the problem, that belief becomes the seed for a full organizational pivot. Tommy Rees isn't an unknown. He's a bright offensive mind who rose quickly to this role. And when a coach like that steps in with the kind of conviction reporters are now describing, it isn't small. It's seismic. So what was broken already? The Browns' offense has been sputtering. A carousel at quarterback drives that stall, and a fan base that's run out of patience. That's the backdrop. The team tried Joe Flacco early, moved to Dillon Gabriel in short bursts, and mixed in other attempts, but sustained answers stayed out of reach. Gabriel, for his part, has flashed potential in practice and preseason, but has also had moments that remind everyone how young he is. Indecision under pressure, misreads, timing that needs polishing. The team even made a public decision to start Gabriel in a recent week, a move meant to find stability. And yet that stability never quite gelled into consistent production. That public choice matters because it put a rookie's name on the roster sheet as the man to fix things. And when that man stumbles, the gas on the fire comes from every direction. But then there's Shedeur Sanders, and he's the part of this story that makes people whisper, if they pull this off, it rewrites everything. Scouts and teammates have whispered about his arm talent, his pocket feel, and a calm under pressure you don't often see from a fresh rookie. Yet officially, he's been on the periphery, third string, glimpses here and there, and a swirl of social media commentary that won't leave him alone. Reports this week note he's had some back tightness updates and varying game status mentions, which explains why he hasn't been tossed into the starting mix yet. But the same reports also say that inside the building, certain coaches have been working with him like he's the answer. Extra film sessions, first-team reps, and a preparation level that reads less like grooming and more like urgency. Those conflicting signals, practice buzz on one hand, official game day status questions on the other, are what make this mess so combustible. Now imagine being in that quarterback room when the OC starts pulling a kid into the first team regularly. Everyone notices. Receivers notice the timing getting cleaner. Offensive linemen notice quicker reads. The same people who are folding at the first sign of pressure suddenly have a different cadence to practice. That, insiders say, is what's happened since Tommy Rees assumed heavier offensive control. Practice intensity shifted. Reports claim Rees has treated Shedeur like a starter in preparation, not an emergency backup. We're talking extended one-on-ones, film drills that go deep into disguise recognition, and reps that mirror game speed. If you're the incumbent, the guy who's been asked to man up and deliver week after week, watching that is unnerving. If you're management, watching that is a decision point. Do you let the process finish, or do you rip the bandage off now? And of course, this is not happening in a vacuum. The locker room has a temperature gauge, and it's been rising. Myles Garrett, the team's defensive megastar and public backbone, has been uncharacteristically blunt in recent appearances, voicing frustration about how the offense is performing. When your most respected leader goes on record with thinly veiled criticism, it's not a private gripe anymore. It's a red flag that the player's patience is frayed. Leaders speak up when internal fixes fail. Public pressure follows. Agents take notes. The roster starts measuring whose future is tied to whom. When that spiral begins, coaches feel it. Front offices feel it. And the simplest route to tamping it down is the one everyone looks at first. Change the most visible position, the quarterback. Which brings us to the blowtorch moment. Rees didn't walk into this gig to trim edges. According to sources around the facility, he believes the problems aren't schematic squirrels or blocking assignments. He believes they live behind center. That's a brutal conclusion in any locker room because quarterbacks are treated like fragile franchise pieces and also like lightning rods for blame. But an OC who looks at tape and sees one consistent source of collapse tends to act fast, not cautiously. The reports now swirling say Rees has prepped Shedeur with the kind of attention you give when you think you've found a savior. Detailed film breakdowns, mechanics refinement, practice reps with the first offense, and constant situational coaching that compresses years of learning into weeks. If that's true, you don't do that for a player, you plan to keep riding the bench. So what about Kevin Stefanski in all of this? He's the head coach, the man whose job it is to steer the ship. Publicly, he's defended his personnel choices, and that's what head coaches do. Tighten the narrative, signal trust, and keep the clubhouse calm. Behind closed doors, though, a head coach watches the record, watches locker room cues, and feels the ownership heat when losses pile up. To some observers, Stefanski's continued loyalty to a particular quarterback reads like stubbornness. To others, it reads like measured steadiness. The truth is almost certainly muddier. Stefanski has invested in the roster, and a sudden switch demands not just coaching courage, but also front office alignment. That alignment is the thing people are watching. Because when the OC and the HC aren't singing the same song, the discord becomes visible to anyone paying attention. And then the drama turns public. Imagine a press session where a coach is asked point blank whether the rookie will start soon, and the coach answers in a way that says nothing and everything at once. Coaches use ambiguity as strategy. Not confirming allows them room to maneuver. But the silence also reveals when it's performative. In this case, reporters read Rees's deflection not as confusion, but as calculated timing, the sense that a plan is in motion and the announcement will come when the coach chooses. That kind of ambiguity is actually a power move. It keeps the opponent guessing and keeps the narrative under the control of those who plan to change it. If you're a quarterback watching that, you understand that a quiet move is coming. If you're a fan, you sense the moment before it's announced. And if you're the incumbent, you start to hear the clock ticking louder. But there's a darker color on this portrait. Accusations that the incumbent coach has sometimes publicly undercut the rookie. Reports and press collisions have suggested moments where public messaging about the rookie's availability or status have not aligned with the energy coming from the OC's room. When the head coach hints a player is banged up or limited, while the OC is handing first-team reps in practice, players and media start to smell a cover story. That's a dangerous animal in a league that thrives on trust and reputation. Suggesting unavailability in order to keep a player down is the sort of behavior agents notice and the kind of friction that fuels trade rumors and locker room paranoia. To be clear, teams often manage player statuses for strategic reasons. But when those strategic shutters look like protectionism for an incumbent rather than injury management, it becomes a storyline that won't go away. So now the math is simple and brutal. If Rees flips the switch and gives Shedeur a start, and Shedeur lights up the field, Rees is the hero who saved the season and perhaps the first name on future head coach wish lists. If Stefanski holds the line and Dillon Gabriel stabilizes the offense, Rees looks like a cocky junior officer who overreached. And if the change happens and the rookie struggles, Rees becomes the convenient scapegoat for a franchise that can't find consistency. That three-way outcome matrix is what makes every practice rep, every press quote, and every notebook scribble feel like final test answers. Fans online are already organizing support, pundits are lining up takes, and the team's win-loss ledger makes every decision exponential. And make no mistake, when your defensive leader goes public and national analysts start piling on, when the club's identity suddenly feels fractured, owners and general managers start to weigh options they previously refused to consider. Trades, benching, staff changes. Those are all on the table when a season can't be saved by optimism alone. That pressure pushes people into extreme plays. A coach who was quietly given more play-calling authority can become the lightning bolt the franchise needs, or the flashpoint that speeds its implosion. There's no middle ground when fans are restless and the media machine smells a story. Let's close with the scenarios you can picture in your head. Scenario 1. Rees pulls the trigger midweek, Sanders starts, and the Browns suddenly have a spark. The offense moves the chains, the defense breathes, and a season that looked lost takes on a pulse. Scenario 2. Stefanski stays the course, Gabriel grows into the role, and the narrative becomes one of patience and methodical repair. That outcome salvages the staff's authority, but risks alienating a roster desperate for results. Scenario 3. The change happens, Sanders struggles, and the team points fingers at the OC. He rushed a rookie becomes the headline, and the offseason starts early with name tags on phones. Those are the 3 roads. Which one happens depends on the next 2 to 4 weeks in practice and in games. And that, right now, is the deliciously grim beauty of this drama. It began as a normal staff adjustment and mutated into a public test of wills. Coaches, players, and personalities are now playing for legacy and leverage. A young quarterback's career is in the balance. A coordinator's future might hinge on a single call. A head coach's reputation for steady leadership is being tested in real time. That's what makes it must-see TV for NFL watchers. Every meeting, every press conference, and every rep now carries narrative weight. So here's the last line for you to sit with. One quiet promotion, an OC getting real power, has become a match to a fuse. Whoever pulls the cord next will either be hailed as the savior of Cleveland or blamed for torching another season. And that question, who will own the future of the Browns, is the only thing that matters right now. Follow the next 2 games, watch the practice notes, and listen to the tone in pressers. The rest will unfold live, and you'll want to be there when it does. This was a routine move, until someone decided to light the match.